Hi 304, I am going to talk about the format and content of your progress exam that starts next week. And first, you need to download and read the exam study guide. You're responsible for all of the information on that sheet, but I'm going to go into detail on some of the important points. And you'll need to have the sample case and the sample questions ready. Okay, the exam is 10% of your grade. That is a full letter grade. The exam is taken individually and it covers Module 1 and 2. Your exam guide tells you that you should let the video material guide your studying, and about 80% of the exam is derived from the video lecture, so about 20% is derived from reading. You should know the takeaways from the readings and focus on the aspects of the readings that are also covered in some other part of the class, whether it's live lecture, online lecture, or discussions. Things that only appear in the readings might be a little lower on your priority scale in terms of what you're studying. How is the exam formatted? You'll read a short case and then you'll answer 5 essay questions. The questions are direct, but they may have multiple components. So for example, you may need to name and describe a theory and then use it to identify a problem or present a solution to a specific aspect of the case. In terms of being prepared, at a minimum, you should be able to name, describe, and apply the theories listed in the module summaries, and you should feel comfortable that you understand all of the learning objectives. How should you answer the questions? Your responses should include an accurate description of the relevant theories, concepts, and terms. So, do you know the theory that is being asked about? An accurate application of those theories, concepts, or terms to the case. So you need to link the various aspects of the theories or terms with specific evidence from the case. You'll be graded on accuracy. Are you describing the theory correctly? Are you matching the correct terms with the correct descriptions? Clarity. Be as concise as possible. Do not include introductory or concluding paragraphs that don't answer the question. Get straight to the point. You might feel like you're not doing enough if you're answering all the parts of the question, you are. For some parts of some questions, bullet points may be acceptable. For example, if you need to name and define a term, as long as you've written thoroughly enough, you're fine. For other parts of questions, you're going to want to use full sentences. If you don't recall the specifics of a theory or a term, give it a shot. You might get partial credit. You're also going to be graded on relevance and logic in analyzing the cause of a particular problem, as well as your ability to propose and support reasonable solutions. Now, please press pause on the video and read the sample question first. Why? So that you know what to look for when you're reading the case. Next, read the sample case and then start the video again. Seriously, pause it. Okay. Welcome back. So you know you're going to be asked about the job characteristics model. So what's the big picture of that model? You're the boss and your goal is to increase your workers' intrinsic motivation, but you can't magically make people care about their jobs. So the job characteristics model says that you can change or manipulate aspects of the job itself, which may change how workers think and feel, which can in turn increase their intrinsic motivation. So the first sample question asks, when thinking about the job characteristics model, how would you describe C's motivation? Please describe the motivational model in detail, as well as discuss how it applies to the case. So first, I would describe the entire model and all of the points. So you might say something like, there are 5 job characteristics that can increase feelings of meaningfulness, responsibility, and knowledge of results. When present, these components can lead to increased motivation. The first 3 characteristics relate to meaningfulness. So then you'd name task significance, identity, task variety, and describe each of those points. Then you'd say 1 characteristic relates to responsibility. Name and describe autonomy. 1 characteristic relates to knowledge of results. Feedback. Name and describe that. Next, you need to list the characteristics of her job that are related to intrinsic motivation. So, do you see evidence of task variety anywhere in the case? Yes. She says, I work on each step, talking to investors, analyzing basis points, and making actual trades. So she's telling you that she does 3 different things. That's an example of task variety, so you could make the case that that contributes to her intrinsic motivation. What about task significance? Yes, she specifically says, what I do is really important. So that's an example of how you would take some aspect of the model or the theory and link it to specific evidence from the case. Question 1A says, now, using the same model, what characteristics of her job might be changed so that she finds even more fulfillment from her work? What are some problems or challenges that may be caused by changing her work environment? Okay, let's think about autonomy. She tells us that she doesn't have much decision-making power and that can be problematic when a deal is time-sensitive. So maybe we could give her more autonomy, and that could increase her intrinsic motivation, give her more decision-making power. A possible challenge or problem that could result, there could be miscommunication with other decision makers, and it could add more responsibility to her already 80-hour work week, which may add more stress to her job. And what about feedback? She tells us that she knows she can make or lose millions of dollars within a day, so that's some sort of feedback on your job. But she doesn't indicate that she gets feedback from anyone at Goldman Sachs about her performance, what she's actually doing, not just what she's making or losing. And some possible challenges or problems that could result from getting feedback. Someone could think maybe she's spread too thin and they could narrow what she's doing. She could lose some of her autonomy if they want to implement changes. But for those 2 things, you're saying, here's a job characteristic, here's how we can increase her intrinsic motivation, and here what might be one problem or challenge that results from it. Now, some common pitfalls that I have seen students experience across exams include not addressing all parts of the question. That might seem simple now, but when you're in the exam, it can be easy, especially if you're writing addressing one part of a question first. If you don't go back to the question and make sure you've dealt with each point, you can lose points there. So what I would suggest is that when you read the question, you underline or circle or put a number by each thing you're asked to do within it. Another problem can be describing a theory or a model but failing to use the correct terms. So that's just, again, you'll be graded on accuracy. So when you're studying, knowing the correct term and the correct definition. Failure to include specific evidence from the case to support your answers. So this is about being thorough and, again, just addressing each part of the question. Another problem can be writing a novel and forcing your grader to hunt for points. As I mentioned, you don't need an introduction or conclusion. Get right to the point, and your answers should kind of be a roadmap that matches with the question. It shouldn't be some, very creative description of what's going on. You should be addressing the question specifically. So what's the job characteristics model? This is the job characteristics model. How does it apply to Irene's case? This is how it applies to Irene's case. Finally, straight up not knowing the theory and either making something up, leaving the page blank, or drawing a picture, none of which will get you partial credit. So, I hope that has been helpful. Feel free to watch the video again. Yes, good luck studying. Fight on.